Hi and welcome back to Joe Talks Cars, and welcome to another really exciting video, and welcome back to Caffeine and Machine. I'm here with VW UK to celebrate the launch of the Golf Mk8.5. I know this is slightly different territory to what I'm usually filming on my channel, but I thought I would bring you along and show you what it's like to go on a press day and drive some of the latest cars. When VW reached out to me and invited me to come and test out the new Golf Mk8.5, how could I possibly refuse? Having owned a Golf Mk6 for the past 5 years, it'd be interesting to see how far the car has come. So without further waffle, let's go outside, check out all the cars. So here we are at the VW Golf Mk8.5 UK launch. As you can see, there is a ton of cars to be getting on with. You saw them out the window earlier, but yeah, we've managed to bag ourselves a Mk8.5 R line, which I think will be about as good as we're going to get for the channel. There's no GTI and no R here, unfortunately. They're not even released yet. The sun is finally shining and it's going to be a good day. So yeah, the next thing will be a little bit of a briefing, talk about what's changed with the new Golf, and then we'll be basically given the keys and told just to get out on the road for an hour. So it should be a really good day. I'm looking forward to it and bringing you along on what is going to be a really good video and something a little bit different for the channel as well.
Our comms at Volkswagen UK, and I've got our rest of the team here today. So let's introduce them. They're all hiding at the back there, so let's check.
So we're in the brand new Golf Mk8.5, or as the Enhanced 8, probably because it only makes some minor changes, but I think all of them add up to what is quite an exciting package for what will be the car that everyone buys. On this channel, I'm used to doing car videos on cars that maybe people won't buy, more interesting, faster and exotic cars. Couldn't really miss out on the opportunity to bring a car to the channel that I think that people genuinely will buy. So since the Golf launched in 1974, they've sold over 37 million cars. So it's a big deal for VW to get this latest one right. They've listened to the customers and they've made some new changes. Those changes include updated interior with a new touchscreen featuring ChatGPT. We'll look into that a little bit later and see how that works. But one of the major things they've done to the new Golf Mk8.5 is get rid of all those horrible haptic buttons that everyone moaned about so much in videos. You'd be glad to hear they have gone. Buttons still remain, because that's very useful, but no longer are they touch sensitive. They're actual physical buttons, pretty much the same as my Golf GTI Mk6. So on the road, this feels very reassuringly like a Golf. I feel very at home, and it feels very similar to my Mk6, which is great, and that's the whole purpose of the Golf. The Golf was always meant to be a gentle improvement every single model that's been brought out. So every time they've brought out a new one, they've just changed a few little things to make it a little bit better. Not redesign it, not change the design altogether, keep it pretty much the same as it was. And I have to say, it's the best Golf yet. As you'd expect, it's super quiet. There's a lot of insulation and the car just cruises along the road. Perfect silence. It's extremely comfortable, and being the R-Line, it's got these lovely sort of wing-back chairs, which I'm a huge fan of. They feel really comfortable to sit in, and yeah, I just feel very at home in it. But I have to say, the biggest noticeable change in the Golf is, of course, the interior. It was spoken about a lot in the briefing. They spoke about how they've changed the buttons on the steering wheel, which are now physical buttons. I've been driving the car for around 20 minutes so far, and I've not once pressed a button that I didn't intend to, which is really great news. Again, the infotainment is another big talking point on this car. They've updated the 12.9-inch screen. It now features ChatGPT. I'm going to have a little play with that later when we're parked up, but so far, just navigating the screen while driving, I've not had any issues at all. And I can't say the same about the Cupra Born and things on the old platform to this. I've always struggled with them. When you get into a press car like this, you've had no time to prepare. It's just get in and drive it. You have to work it out on the fly, and normally it's a nightmare in VW products. But this new updated infotainment screen is not only super crystal clear, it's also very easy to use. So that's a great point for VW, and I think they've made huge improvements on that. So this 1.5 litre ETSI engine produces around 115 horsepower. It's not a huge amount of power, but it doesn't feel slow by any means. Technology has come such a long way in the last few years, and now a 1.5 litre engine in a car this size is perfectly adequate. Yeah, it's not exactly a sports car, it was never intended to be one. That's for the GTI and the R, which are coming out further along down the line. This is meant to be your average family commuting vehicle, and for that, it's absolutely perfect. But one of the most amazing things for me is because I'm used to driving cars with tons of power, this one is now showing, and it's not even got a full tank, a range of 400 miles. That's insane. This car will average well over 50 miles to the gallon driven in mixed conditions, which is mighty impressive. Right, so we'll get out and talk about the exterior changes on the new Golf Mk8.5, because there has been some subtle, but I think quite good styling changes to this car. So on the front, you can see the headlights actually a little bit slimmer than what they were on the Mark 8. They've also had a new bumper design, and this being the R line, it does look pretty sporty. It's probably how the Golf Mk8.5 R will ultimately look. Although the R will have a different wheel design, I think this is pretty much as it's going to look. Down the side, you can see it's got this unique wheel design for the Mk8.5. I'm not sure I'm actually a huge fan of it, but in this colour, the darker wheels do set the car off quite nicely. It's got R badging down the side, which is nice, and I think it just looks like a really pleasant looking car. Nothing much has changed down the side of the car, but round the back, again, they've updated the tail lights, so they've got a new, slightly more modern look to them. And they've also got a few animations as well, but it's going to be too sunny to see any of that. Redesigned diffuser, and yeah, that's pretty much the exterior. But talking a little bit more about the Golf. Of course, the Golf is an iconic car. Started in 1974. They've sold millions of units, way more than the Beetle. I think it's almost double what the Beetle sold. It's one of the best-selling cars in the world. And the good news is, coming straight from VW, they are not getting rid of the Golf. The current CEO of VW has assured everyone that the Golf will continue, and it won't be a car with a Golf badge stuck on it, pretty much like Ford have done with the Capri. More that it will be a Golf that is a Golf, not just a rebadged ID3, call it a Golf. This is a really good move for VW. It's a hugely important car. I would liken the Golf to like the 911 is to Porsche. It's so important to the brand. It's so iconic that the Golf has its own class, the Golf class. You don't make a car for this long to then suddenly sack it off or change it into something it's not. You keep the format the same, and of course, move with the times, adding in electrification, new engine types, and make it more efficient. I've discussed a lot on the channel about electrification of cars, and although I do love electric cars, the fact that this car is probably a lot cheaper to run than most of the electric cars I've driven, and a damn sight more convenient, stands to reason that this will remain one of VW's best-selling cars ever, and it will continue its theme in being an everyday person's car. We live in a very exciting time. This is a Golf, a bog-standard Golf. Yes, this is the R-Line trim, but it's not the GTI, it's not the R. It is just a car. If you went into VW and wanted a car to get to work, take the kids to school, this is what you'd get. And yet the quality in here is like Mercedes from about 5 years ago. It's genuinely incredible how far cars have come. The silence in here is incredible. The noise from outside, you might as well be driving an electric car. I often talk about how electric cars are super quiet to drive. And this one is just the same. And yet we've got the convenience of being able to pull into a petrol station and just fire loads of fuel in it and carry on. There's a lot to be said about the internal combustion engine. And it's when you drive a car like this, you realise it's going absolutely nowhere. We've got opposite ends of the spectrum. We've got fire-breathing V8s, V12s and stuff like that that are at risk of hitting the chopping block. But when it comes to a 1.5 litre, with all the latest tech in it, achieving well over 58 miles to the gallon in standard driving conditions, why would you replace this with something that is inherently worse? I just don't think you would. I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. And if VW are anything to go by, why would they still be making this if electric was the be-all and end-all? It's not. What else can I say about the Golf other than it's just a very pleasant car to drive? I've really enjoyed driving it. It handles beautifully for a very standard car. The ride quality is exceptional. The interior quality is like nothing I've experienced in a VW product before. And the infotainment is clearly bang up to date now, well up there with the latest from Tesla and Mercedes. Is there any need for the GTI? I think there always is a need for a GTI. The petrol head inside of me wants more excitement. What you're going to get from this is not excitement. This is not exciting. I love the fact that VW has listened to its customers. They've listened to the fact that we don't like haptic controls. They've clearly taken that on board and they've improved it, not within a generation, but they've actually done it for the refresh. And that is very commendable for VW. I'm so glad they've done it because it's the one thing that drove me mad about the last Golf and most of the Cupras is all the touchscreen nonsense that we get. I suppose one of its competitors is the Vauxhall Astra. I drove that earlier last year and it was an absolutely woeful car, awful, probably the worst car I've ever driven. The interior plastic was similar to what you get inside a selection box. It was just nasty. It lacked performance, build quality, and looks. It's an unbelievably awful car. And yeah, this is probably its competitor. Other than that, you've got things like the Audi A3, some BMWs, I guess, are competitors of the Golf. And because the Golf's quality is now way up there, I genuinely think that this is a better option. You've not got the pretentiousness of the badge. VW is a more friendly badge to have, and the build quality is way better than it used to be. Yeah, honestly, I don't see how you could pick anything other than the Golf. I just want to say a massive thank you to VW for inviting me down to make this video. I've had an amazing time. The food's been brilliant. And the hospitality from Caffeine Machine has been, as always, really great. I always love coming down to this part of the world. The scenery around here is stunning. The weather's perfect at the moment, which helps. And yeah, it's just nice to hang out at Caffeine Machine with lots of like-minded car enthusiasts. Right, well that marks the end of my day here with VW UK to test out the new Golf Mk8.5. I've had an awesome day driving that stunning car, but also just hanging out with the VW press team. The food has been exceptional and we've had a huge cake as well. It's been overall an amazing day, and to spend the day at Caffeine Machine with the selection of cars they've got kicking around in here is always worth a visit. So if you're ever in the area, then make sure you check out Caffeine Machine. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this rather different type of video for my channel. If you have, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for plenty more videos like this one to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.